Good evening, everyone, and thank you all for joining us today. My name is Rashmita, and I'm the event planner for Microsoft Reactor India. This session will run over the next 60 minutes, including Q&A. But before we begin, please take a moment to read our code of conduct. We are all here to learn together, so please be respectful of other people's views, understanding of differences, being kind and considerate in the way you engage. The chat section will be open throughout, and we do encourage you all to participate. I would now like to welcome Dhruv, our speaker for today's session. Dhruv works as a senior service delivery engineer in the GitHub Expert Service team at GitHub. Dhruv has over 14 years of experience in development, architecting solutions for large enterprise companies on their web development and content delivery network requirements. But for now, I will hand over to Dhruv to begin the session. Let me bring in him. Hey, Dhruv.
Hi, Rashmita. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening. How are you doing today?
I'm good and I'm excited. Looking forward to this.
Awesome. Then I'll not take much of your time and let me bring up your screen. There you go. And over to you. Bye. I'll be there at the
Thank
backstage.
you.
Thanks. Bye.
Totally. Uh, Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining the session. What we are going to talk about is I'm Dhruv Gupta. I'm from GitHub Expert Services. Been in GitHub for multiple years. We work with large enterprises across APAC and help them adopt GitHub at scale. So, what we are going to talk about is how GitHub Copilot leads to improvement in development practices. We know that today there's huge movement towards generative AI, and how GitHub Copilot could be a coding assistant. How can it help in different phases of the software development? So let's start through the agenda. What are we going to talk about? So, at an overview, we will look at Copilot. What is there? What does it do? There could be people who haven't heard about it. We'll talk about how to set it up. What are the steps? What is the behavior it does? Then we'll get hands-on to demo certain cases about how different personas could use GitHub Copilot. In the end, we like to keep best practices about how to use Copilot across GitHub. And please keep flowing with your questions on the chat, and we'll like to answer them. So, as an overview, um, to be more precise, like GitHub Copilot serves as an AI coding partner. So it's somebody who tags along with you, enhancing your daily workflow. It intelligently harnesses the context from your comments and code. So it needs context to be shared, what it has to generate the suggestions on, swiftly offering suggestions for lines and functions in a real time. So again, as a developer, as a software developer, you need to generate code. You have requirements to understand to generate that. It is really transformative that you need to think about in a way that I don't need to learn everything about the language, everything about the framework. If I have a way, what is my target requirement to be completed, I can do that using GitHub Copilot. uh, Basically, it translates your requirements into code, making development more efficient. Each code suggestion provided by GitHub Copilot is generated by AI. So there's no copy paste. It's not a database like I find out this index and it pastes that. It's generating on the fly. Copilot offers support for diverse range of languages like Python, Java, C Sharp, and many more. The popular the language, the better the suggestions. Even COBOL of those framework lines. Copilot is powered by OpenAI, the large language model. So behind the scenes, it hits OpenAI APIs. So now you may have a question: what is a large language model? So is a type of AI system designed to understand and generate human language text. So what you can write as you can we have in a way to write pseudocodes or a framework of algorithm the way you want to process it. If you can build that and think about the end state you want to reach, Copilot can help improve your performance there. Now, GitHub Copilot, what personas it can help? It can help, as you see, a junior engineer, a junior developer. If I think about different categories of enterprises, maybe a startup, a mid-size cap, or an enterprise, large enterprise, there are a lot of students, a lot of new hires who join in. They may be not knowing the coding standard, or they may be not knowing the technology. Copilot can really help them mentor and provide them instant code suggestions and explanations, accelerate the learning curve so that they can generate output sooner and build confidence. Fostering better coding practices, it can help you grasp complex concepts faster. Whereas now a senior developer, you've been in the industry for a long time. You know the boilerplates. You know how there's certain redundant tasks I need to do every time. And as a senior developer, I can focus. Let Copilot build the boilerplates for me. I just give the comment and they just build it. And I think about more critical business use cases which I want to solve. So a higher level of thinking and architectural design. Um, so Now, as we see when to use, there's a couple of things which you must have seen online. One is Copilot and Copilot Chat. So there's two types of Copilots, and there's just to highlight this GitHub Universe happening on 8th and 9th of November. Many more features are coming out. Please do see it offline on or live. So currently there are Copilot and Copilot Chat which are available on the IDE. So you can think about these two sides of Copilot, which is one is a coding assistant, which is Copilot, and Copilot Chat acts as a research assistant for you. Like it can do much more. GitHub Copilot, you write direct code in your editor view. We'll show that shortly once we do the demos. When you are actively writing code and want auto suggestions on inline or maybe multiple suggestions to be shared, there are multiple IDs which we support. So Visual Studio Code, Visual Studio. So those seamless integrations are easier. Now, as you are working as a solo development, you're doing particular task. You have a requirement, a Jira tick, something has been assigned to you, and you're working on that. And you need somebody to pair program. So GitHub Copilot is lovely for that. But now Copilot Chat it's an in-depth assistant in the sense that I can ask it, can you find out the documentation? Can you help me with the documentation where specific this item is? I know that. Learning programming language concepts, I can straight away question the chat and it can give me a response back. It can give you step-by-step walkthroughs. If you have a complex problem and expect a bit of back and forth interaction to clarify and iterate on your requirements, you can do with chat scenario over there. Also, if you're working as a team setting and you want to actually have coding challenge or problem interactively, Copilot Chat can help with that. And we'll show that shortly in the demos. Now the question comes, what is Copilot good for? What should we look at? Code suggestions, definitely. You write a comment, you get a single line or multiple line suggestions. Unit testing, once you have all your code in place, Copilot could help you generate unit tests and testing framework quickly. Infrastructure as a code, you can think about so many providers out there, Azure, AWS, Google Cloud. You cannot learn every minutia of that, whereas GitHub Copilot can help you as to help you fill in those gaps where what is specifically for those particular providers. Code translation, this can be done in a way that you can think, if I want to write a code in Java and convert it into Python, or if I write a code in C# and connect it into Node.js JavaScript format. So it can help you do that. Dictionary lookups. So imagine we have certain structure which has been created in a file, like the data structure of certain defined values. And if you have those tabs open, Copilot can build context, learn context from that, and help you fill those as you're typing the requirements. Pattern matching using regex. If I can say, like, if we put a comment, saying that I want to find this particular pattern in this particular strings in this particular array or other formats, Copilot can help generate that. Anti-patterns, GitHub Copilot is mainly focused on coding tasks. It's if you look into anything else like natural language processing, you're trying to find something out of the box, not coding specific, it will block that. Production data generation, as I shared, that it can build small arrays, like an dummy example, or it's building, but you won't like to build production data from it, like generate a small database and other things to go live with. Natural language generation, again, it's not meant to understand, it's meant to understand English, but from English to Spanish, English to Hindi and other things and build context out of that, it's not recommended. So these are the use cases and anti-patterns we see. When working with GitHub Copilot, it's crucial to understand some of its limitations. Now, Copilot's suggestions are based on its available training data. Any popular language like Python, JavaScript will result in better code suggestions than which are very obsolete languages. So Copilot, the LLM, has been trained on the public source code, whatever is available on the internet. Anything private which is not live yet or just recently has released, Copilot, the model hasn't been trained on it. So that's the limitation you will see. It does not guarantee a deliverable compilable code. So you have to have all your best practices sitting around it, like linting, testing, security integrations and others, everything to be set up. It will generate partial results, like certain functions will be half-baked. You need to comment further and build in the whole function. It needs the support of your IDE. So it's just not purely a request to an API and come back. There's lots happening with the IDE plugin and behind the scenes. We'll talk about that too. And the developer to create, Copilot does not anticipate what you are trying to do. You need to be very declarative in your comments and what you want to get. So giving good examples, that's where Copilot will come back with better solutions. If you see, as if we ask this question to Copilot itself, it will say, I'm powered by AI. So surprises and mistakes are possible. Make sure to verify and generate code or suggestions and share feedback so that we can learn and improve. We'll share the details about, you should always give feedback if you see certain cases where it's making mistake, so we can evolve together. So again, it's an AI-powered pair programmer which plays within your IDE. It's a mix and match of a lot of behaviors from the IDE in the proxy, in the OpenAI endpoints which take place. There is a reason we named it Copilot. Every Copilot needs a captain to set the course. So now if you think about, a lot of people get scared because the generative AI coming out and with the jobs and security in that front will be challenging. Copilot needs a captain. That's the developer who's developing. Having a good vision about your programming goals will get you to a solution much faster. Remember, Copilot can't read your mind. So again, what we see as in Copilot, if you can think about your end state, the clarity and what you want to achieve, have that documented as elaborative as possible and building prompts along that, Copilot can really help fill the journey and the gap over there. Again, there's certain impactful things like a compelling study from GitHub blog dwells deep into understanding GitHub Copilot's transformative effects on developer efficiency, overall containment. After initially observations and discussions with users, the research expanded into horizons by serving over 2,000 developers to gain broad insights into their Copilot experience. So GitHub ran this controlled experiment with a lot of developers involved from different industries, diverse behavior to understand what is the benefit seen. As we see, there's about 96% say that they saw faster work done on repetitive tasks, all the time writing the boilerplate, searching the documentation, coming back and writing that. 88% said they were much more productive on because it was filling the gaps and helping finish the requirements. And they felt much more focused, and that helped to feeling about satisfying job. So in a way, if you can write your comments pseudocodes well, what you want to achieve, Copilot can really help you complete your tasks sooner. It the main focus becomes increasing developer productivity, accelerating innovation, and bridging skill gaps for the new dev personas join. So let's explore about how does it work. So there are basically what you need to have GitHub Copilot working for you. The three main components. You need a GitHub account, you need a Copilot license, and you need a supported IDE. So once you have these in place, you should be able to use GitHub Copilot. Now, as the supported IDEs, so in a way, if you think about a lot of endpoints and a lot of features which are available, you will be seeing a lot of features being built. So you can think about, why can't I hit the OpenAI endpoint directly, the Codex API, and generate my suggested code? But there's a lot of things which happens in the IDE, like understanding the language, understanding the context, everything on the fly. So these IDE plugins play a lot of value here to generating the suggestions. The IDE extensions, they integrate seamlessly with Visual Studio, VS Code, Vim, NeoVim, and the JetBrains IDE suite. If you're already using one of these, you are lucky, you can just quickly get Copilot up and running. However, if you are on a different platform, you may need to either transition into a supported IDE or await expansion support from GitHub. So the way, once Copilot is enabled from GitHub side and your Copilot IDE extensions are installed, you should be able to see certain Copilot related icons in your IDE. As seen here, you will see we are seeing a Copilot particular icon below. Once we are switched on, you will see a Copilot chat extension also installed. And the way you normally install, this is a VS Code example we are showing. You search for the extension from the marketplace and you just go ahead and install it. You need to have, as I said, you need to have the GitHub account upfront, and you must be having a Copilot license to use it. So what actually happens when Copilot fulfills a request? So this is a question we normally get, and we are building the conference on that. Copilot as an IDE, as you see here, this is like a Go example. There's a file here. You have multiple files in the tabs open. You can keep those tabs open. It always helps when similar context details are built. A context is generated by the IDE. And like, if you understand the generative AI, there is something called as a prompt generation, and there is a suggestion or response coming back. So the correct context with correct, and these are limited tokens which can be sent. So that particular correct best value to be sent is built from the IDE, and the extensions are very intelligent on doing that. Once context has been established at the code editor, the prompt passes via HTTPS to a GitHub proxy server. On the proxy, we apply several pre-model filters. We test toxic language because we want to be AI compliant. So anything which is hate speech, sexual content, violence, evidence of self-harm is filtered. Now, here again, if you are using GitHub chat, we also test for relevance. As we said, all your conversation should be coding specific, software development focus. If anything is out of that context, it could be filtered. Third, we also guard against prompt hacking. The service detects and protect blocks attempts to trick the model into returning service internals, anything about details about the proxy and what's happening. Assume all particular checks are passed. We go forward to the open AI model. It produces n number of responses, and it deletes that also from its memory. We also take consideration what goes to RAM. Everything's kept in memory. Nothing goes to a disk, so that nothing is retained. It's very ephemeral. Once the response comes back to the proxy, so that means the proxy sitting here again, we again need to filter out. We see the code quality, any PII or unique identifiers for a user which is being shared or a system. There's also a feature flag available in Copilot that it can block any publicly available code suggestions. So if in your enterprise that policy has been switched on, the code will be filtered. Now, once the result comes back to the user, they have an option to select which particular which particular prompt or suggestion they want to pick. So different IDs, the way you accept that, and we showcase that shortly. All right, so we are getting into the demo now. What would we like to demo today is Copilot chat. We will be demoing Copilot. We did talk about there's a Copilot X feature, which is the branding where the new features are coming out. We will share the links for PR. We will show Copilot CLI, where you can also understand how we can build prompts, and actually the bash or PowerShell becomes complicated. How can we use that? And docs too, in a way, you can pass any MD files on GitHub and learn from them as a new developer joins in. All right, so let's get into our demo. So if you can see my screen, I have a repository open on GitHub. It's in my personal enterprise organization, and it has a project already in place. It's a MERN project, MongoDB, Express, React, and Node.js build. We are going to use code spaces because everything is in the same ID and everything works. So we have built a code spaces by clicking plus here. And if you see on the UI, we have already have code spaces running. So now let's kickstart looking at different features of Copilot. So I can actually, as shared, there is an icon here which says Copilot status. It says it's ready, it is running, the icon we saw. There is a chat icon over here, says GitHub Copilot. Let me just increase the font, yeah, which tells me how Copilot can be tested, what can be done. We'll just showcase this shortly. And also in my terminal, if you're familiar with VS Code, I have my terminal running. If I say, I can go to chat and I can open up a file, workshop.md as an example. I can select the entire content. I can just put command I and say, now this is interactive chat inside in the developer part itself. I can say / and say, can you build a documentation for this particular information? Can you explain what is this doing? Can you fix it? So I can say explain. As a new developer, as somebody I've joined in, is trying to understand the README details about the project. So I'm getting all the details of what this project does. So as again, seeing different personas, a new developer joining the project, a senior developer there, a tester being already available. We'll look into these personas. So somebody has an experience or a new junior developer comes in, he's trying to understand the project. He can start questioning here. Uh, Again, we can say you can chat with the Copilot about the project. What are the technical details? The project, see again, now it's starting to build me the context about technical details needed. So I have the project relevant context built, and I'm seeing the response coming from generative AI. Now, just to share here, it's always good to be very specific and declarative. You should say what all is needed for running the project in bullet points. I'm saying like as it's my view that I like bullet points to understand things, so I can question that and let's see, does it get me? Yes, it does. So it's telling you what all details are needed, what all folders, what are the steps to be done, and this it's understanding from this particular context given to it. Now this particular project has MongoDB. I wear a hat of a new experienced developer, but who's joining the team and trying to understand. So as generally MongoDB has it's a NoSQL database, it has a database and has a collection name, but I don't want like it's a big README or a documentation. Going through everything is a bit challenging. I can actually put in the point straight away. What is the MongoDB database and collection name here? So it already captured it and it gave me that back. I can also ask questions like, this project is broken down into a front end and a back end view. Front end is React and back end is Mongo Express node. So I can ask questions from it. What are the backend URLs available? So it can tell me the front end file where the backend is this particular file exists. So now we saw chat in some view. Let's go into our Copilot CLI or CLI. So now here, what we are trying to do is, if you have written Bash scripts, PowerShell scripts, and others, they are pretty nuanced, pretty complicated. So how can we use language, and that builds us the scripts? So let's see that. First, let's check if Copilot CLI is already available. I'll just restart my terminal. Yeah, okay. So I have the terminal up and running. I say, just GitHub Copilot CLI version. Is it available? Is it installed? Yes, it is. I'll have to call out, since still in private beta. It's evolving. That's why this is Copilot X feature, which will grow and come out. The shorthand to run Copilot CLI is double questions. And now if I say, imagine I'm a very new developer. I don't know how to check Node.js and npm is installed or not. I just said check if Node and npm is installed as a statement. Copilot CLI gets me back the version, the V. It explains me it's a Node.js runtime /V. Tells me the version, npm version. So just very basic. I'm pretty sure everyone knows this, but Bash scripts and others, they have side effects, which are kind of, we have to be cautious on. That's why we have multiple checks to run them or not. This does not have a major side effect. So we say yes, continue. It finds that out. Now, as we said, the earlier step was easier, but we'll say, can you find out, check if MongoDB service is running using service command. Now, this is, as Codespaces runs in a Dockerized environment. These are nuances as a developer I don't know. If somebody from outside, I just say, can you tell me the MongoDB service running or not? So let's just see. So it sees services MongoDB status. Yes, it is running. It gives me the details also. Is using a managed system services. Is the name of the service. Is the command we want to execute. So let's run it. So I saw the status come back. It says, okay. So let's go ahead and see. Now we understand MongoDB is running. We found out the database name and the collection name. Let's go a bit more complicated. We say print the first 10 MongoDB database sample Airbnb and collection listing and reviews. So we're trying to find out if that data is there. Can it do even the MongoDB level of commands? So let's just run this. So if you see the complexity of the answer generated, it is running the MongoDB export. I didn't know that it's already installed. CodeSpaces, the entire environment is set up and ready. DB / it explains also specifies which export database is set up. Collection listing and review specific collection is also given correctly. What type of CSV is needed, that is given. Specifies the field I wanted to print and list the top 10, the first 10 over here. So I've also, my statement was very generic, very in first language, like writing a language. I'm straight away asked. It's like a pseudocode. So I say yes, run. So I am seeing data come back. So that means Copilot CLI helped me convert language to specific requirements. So now let's go ahead and see. Let's run this particular project. As we have seen certain cases, what do we need? What all is needed for running this project in bullet points? So we know what steps we need to do. Let's do that. I'll split the screen in the terminal. I'll just clear this. Yeah. Okay, we have the screen running. So I have my chat along with me. I have everything running along with me. So I can actually start following the steps here. Or I can, as a developer, take notes, have a note file. So I'll actually go to the backend. It says npm start to start the backend. Npm start. And this is all as a new developer, experienced developer. I have all the notes ready. I do content on the side. I do npm start. So we are seeing the front end open up. It says it opens up the project. So the React front end has loaded up. And I'm seeing the project running. So this is general CodeSpaces gives the environment to run Copilot, like also running the project. So I have my project up and running here. Now, as a developer, now let's look into certain more cases. I have my nodes, I have my front end, my back end. So let's go to our back end. This is the node express behavior. I go to the app. I can go to the config or any particular, as a new developer, I'm in, and I say, I open up the file. I select the entire context or a specific context. I say Command I. Now, for me to, as a new developer, I want like good to have this, but can you please explain me the code? Now we saw the explanation of a MD file or document, but now we're looking into explanation of code base. So as a in the chat, we do see the code base being explained, but it's pretty extensive. Let's go ahead and see. Let's run this and say explain, and it's not limited to just explain, say in bullet points. Yes. Now I can say, okay, great. It's a model, exports details. Pagination is there. Just find one function, retrieve single document from MongoDB collection, update. Everything is there. Okay, fine. Great. So I am trying to understand the project. I'm understanding it. This is not even specific for the entire file. I can go ahead and just select the relevant section I want explanation on. Again, do command I / explain. So I can target a specific code base which I want to understand and see. So yeah, specific code base. Now, if as we not seeing too much of documentation on this particular file, imagine I've built this particular file, I've worked through it. I want to go ahead and select all and say command I. Let's do add documentation comment to for this particular symbol. So let's see. So it has split the screen into two. Let's close this for a minute. Yeah. And it has built the documentation for my particular file. It has given that. It could be correct. We'll definitely always suggest to review what the explanation is coming back. It's only built for the first one. Now, again, I go ahead and say build documentation for the second function. I think this is a suggestion. So similarly, you can start building your documentation and understand. Doc. So it's building documentation and sharing parameters, what value, and you can start filling in that details. Now we saw the script running and others. Let's go ahead and see what are the, again, going back to our chat window and asking a question, what are the different front-end React paths available? So just an example, you can look at for your own project view, or somebody new who's trying to learn and needs to note these things down. It provides the specific paths and whatever is available from the front end. So it's already giving me the context. These two particular endpoints are available. So as an example, now let's go ahead and write a little bit complex CLI, Copilot CLI. I'll open up one more terminal. So I'm asking it, can you do a get request for this particular endpoint with query string search, URL encoding, UWS particular section, store the beautified response in a file called response.js. So that's a lot of tasks built into one statement. If as a new developer or experienced to, if who knows Bash console scripting very well, it could take a couple of minutes, and also to go through different documentation and find. Copilot CLI is finding that all out, which OS you are on, what is being run. So let's see. If you're, so it has translated that really well. It has done a curl call to a particular endpoint, has used Python, found out that Python is installed in my environment, has beautified it and saved it into a response.js. So we should see a response.js build here. So we are seeing response.js come up. So we are seeing the data points all being. So it's these are all they don't have any side effect into our database. But if you imagine you step forward, you can build these things into your request. The prompt creation, the request generated, it has to be done very logically because the console has side effects. Now, moving forward, we would like to generate Or like now, if I select the particular database here and I say Control A for the entire setup or a particular selecting the entire context or a specific one, I can say Command I and say test. So generate unit tests for the selected code. I in this particular project we're using Jest, just giving more context, being more decorative. It needs much more context. We can actually uh, view in chat or cancel. We can select everything and say again to give it more context. So if you see here, it has built a model.controller.test.js. It has not saved it yet. It has built it. It is asking for acceptance, yes. It has built the boilerplate for the unit tests. Not that they are perfectly correct, but how can we start using it? You can accept this. If I do accept, I go back to my chat. The model.test has been built. It's already come into my correct folder. And if I do the testing, it will run. But not that this is perfectly correct. Here you need to, because Copilot cannot know the whole context of your project, you need to just go through it and understand, yes, this is the way we are building it. Looks correct. Now in this particular project, there is a testing file for the backend. It's under the test folder called as endpoint tests. It has now, I've opened this file because it has a lot of context. And if I would have used this along building the test case, it would have built a better prompt. But now if I go and say, now we are giving suggestions to it here. And we say, again, in that particular unit test, now I'm being very specific. Unit test the get endpoint where ID is equal to this particular ID, pass the JSON and check if the name is correct. So it has built the entire test case because I've actually given all the details correctly. This will, I'm pretty sure I know it will fail right now because we don't have the database updated. But let's go ahead and do one check is we had the response.js already. We had the name as this particular name. We go back to our script and just give it name. So let's see if the test case runs correctly or not. I'll just do a sanity test because I'm the developer. I know how this project works. Okay. So it looks good. So let's go ahead and it may pass or fail, but this doesn't have any side effects, no lasting concern. So let's go to our folder backend and do npm test. So it's running the endpoint. So one test case failed. So that's npm. It tells us what is correctly running or not. Oh, that particular file was as you see, that particular file failed. It is not perfect. You need to build on that. So if I actually go back to my apps controller and remove this file for the moment, I'll make it just bk backup. But if you saw, the test case ran correctly in the endpoint. Let me run it again. See, all my test cases passed, my code coverage I can see, and I could see the endpoint running correctly. So when the context was given, the relevant files were open, the test cases was built pretty much correct. Exactly. I just need to change the data point. But whereas when the context was not open, context means like different tabs, relevant tabs, it gave a wrong answer. So that's on the different views here. Let's go back to our slide just for a minute. So we saw chat in the idv.cli. Let me show you docs, the way it works. So this is again in private beta, so you may need to get access to it. Now imagine you have all these public facing documentation, and if you can get access to them. So like I can go to GitHub documentation and start discussion with it. The entire GitHub docs has been built. I can tell them nuances like I'm a new developer, I'm a intermediate or a senior. Like it will refine the answers correctly. What type of material? I know this material well. Like for me, GitHub documentation, we work on it regularly, so we know. But somebody who joins a new, I can say now, can you give me the API endpoint for finding the name of the org? Like in GitHub, you have organizations. Let's see what does it come back with. It gives me the specific details. Like, okay, this is the endpoint you should find, you should hit, and details like that. I can copy this and I can say, now it takes the conversation ahead. What are the rate limits with GitHub API if I want to learn that? And we'll always request you to give your suggestions, yes or no, because if it's working or not. These nuances are important. Um, GitHub pull request, it's currently still being worked on, but uh, you can definitely go ahead and check the documentation for GitHub next project's pull request. The way it will work is when you build a pull request, you can actually give certain shorthands like Copilot forward colon all. It will start building the explanation for your pull request. Like what are the changes coming in? Like, as an example here, Copilot summary, it will see it started to generate the entire summary. What changes are you trying to do in the pull request? So uh, you can go ahead and sign up for it and actually get to know more. So just coming back to our slide deck. So yeah, we'll definitely request to look at universe post universe. You will see multiple new features coming out, which you can see deep dive on how they work. Just to give a hint, like if you think about chat, if chat, why not on github.com? So that chat could also help you. You can pull a lot of context on the .com itself. Just be cautious on time. Let's look at the best practices for Copilot. Write clear instructions. Now the instructions are your prompts, what you're writing. Be specific. Do not be vague in your question. Provide context. As more the context you provide, the better the response. Efficiency. Write clearly once and avoid multiple prompts. Like um, try to be very clear, very declarative what you want. Do not expect the model understanding anything by itself. It can hallucinate. That's in the nomenclature of LLM, but uh, provide more details. Once you give that, quality of response will be better and it will respond strong. You will see favorable behavior and you learn on the go, understand. You can always provide references. You can, like in GitHub chat, the IDE chat, you can actually provide, can you give me this details from this URL, this particular, it should be publicly available. It will reduce fabrication as the LLM model is very intelligent. It can build its own fabrication hallucinations. We want to reduce that. This will improve accuracy and enhance context to be shared. Um, do not give a lot of when you give a lot of context, and that's the intelligence from the IDE. Like that's the Copilot extension which is there. GitHub Copilot. It builds the context very smartly and sends it to the backend. But try to be as specific as possible as what you want and do small tasks step by step. Do not expect like build as an example, build a API and a gateway or something. It will not be able to do anything for you. But whereas you like, okay, let's break that down. The front end, back end, what are we expecting? What particular technology stack we want to use? So details to be given to Copilot. Um, Again, think about simple, easier step. write your, that's why we say look at your end state, what you want to achieve, pseudocode it, build good prompts, and the answer will be much better. Uh, to enhance performance, it's crucial to measure it. Now, you should always think about how the responses are coming back from GitHub Copilot. Is it performing better? If it's performing worse, what changes have you done? Like you may be using Copilot as a new, quick, as initial phases, or you could be a person who's already working with it for a while. Your certain refinements of keywords, what responses I'm seeing, certain changes in prompts, the way you're adding comment, you're asking for the response back. Again, implement different test suites, like the way test all your cases. But GitHub Copilot does not replace a developer. All the CI toolings are along with it. You have to have your linting, your code secret scanning, security integrations, everything in parallel with Copilot. It's a blend. It does not remove, replace any other tooling, but it will enhance the developer experience and productivity. All right, so I think so. We are pretty much on time, but I may have gone a couple of minutes faster. I'm just looking at if I can share anything more. But I'll just quickly check if there are any questions on the chat. Okay. One more thing we'd like to call out is please do look into GitHub Copilot Fundamentals, Understanding the AI Paired Programming. It's a self-paced learning module. This will give you experience on how GitHub Copilot works. Please, somebody share over the link. So yeah, I see the link already shared. You can learn much more detailed things at your own pace. So that'll be helpful. I'll just quickly check if there are any questions on chat. I think so, yeah. Thank you, Abhishek, already answered that. Yeah, and Sri Ganesh too, thank you so much, and thank you for the questions. Is there any difference in using Copilot using Windows or Copilot? Okay, that's a great question. The question is about Copilot being used in different platforms. Again, depends on the latency. There is a structure where GitHub, we have a yardstick that the response should be as quick as possible. But this is just not about the it's not about just the extension sitting in the front end. There's a huge cycle of path it has to go through, the network traversing, going through the proxy and others. So particular OS should not play a role in this, but we'll definitely suggest to get it reviewed, debugged, and just to see if it's passing, it's taking a longer time. The response time also depends on how complex the prompt is. This will be a great case if you can actually run two, like one OS, you see the difference. But as per our understanding, should not be concerned about any OS specific. Any trial versions? There was a time there was a trial version running with GitHub Copilot, but now it is paid. We would request you to connect with if you're working with any teams in Microsoft and GitHub who can help you get a subscription for testing. But at the moment, we don't have a trial version. Yeah. Thank you. That was a great question. I'll reiterate, please watch Universe. There are multiple features coming out. This is, we saw in the IDE, in code spaces, how Copilot helps. We're still exploring a lot of features which are going to come out and in progress. We have a few more minutes to go, so please feel free to ask more questions. So the LLM finally is OpenAI LLM. It's their proprietary endpoint. So there are once you go into more detailed understanding, you can detail of that there are filters and output filters, and those are models too, which help remove sensitive information or any offensive information. So, at the end, it hits LM model and actually generates the response. So we don't build the code. The codex model, which is being used, is coming from OpenAI, but there are certain filters at the input and the output phase. Is there any Copilot chat intelligence? And what about the data privacy where customer don't allow to use Copilot because is send the code on public? So what are your recommendations? Yeah, these are IntelliJ. It's actually being built on. We will suggest to look at the public roadmap, how things progress and what updates can come in. On the privacy, if customer doesn't allow to use GitHub Copilot, send the code on public. So what? So we, as the context or the prompt which is being generated and sent over to GitHub Copilot, nothing is stored. It's all ephemeral. Please get in touch with your Microsoft representative or GitHub representative. It's very ephemeral. It just, as soon as a transaction is done, it's removed. It's not even sent to disk. It is always kept in memory. And if you're concerned about the output coming back from Copilot to GitHub, there are certain filters which you can switch on. Say that do not, if any 150 characters, there's a logic where matches a public code representation, and we thought that 120 to 150 is a correct number. It will not make those suggestions. So if your concern is that the output should not be matching a public code base, GitHub Copilot has that feature to block that, and also code going is not stored at all. It's ephemeral. It will be that after that particular transaction, nothing is left. How is GitHub Copilot better compared to competitors like? Again, there are multiple things here like the multi-line, the single line, the benefit of different extensions, and we're working with on VS Code on it. There's also multiple, and it's just not Copilot developer part. There's multiple features which with Copilot X which are coming out. So it's the entire developer experience, how that improves. So just not the development of the code, what we're talking here, it's the entire software development practices which benefit. But I'll definitely recommend to do talk to Microsoft or GitHub to get, so we can get more context and share more details. Um, right.
I think we don't have any more questions. Okay, I think we can take one last question. I'll just put that up for you.
Is it Copilot MS Workspec same as using VS Code for coding? There are certain nuances which are different. We'll love to get into more details of discussion about this, but again, behind the scenes, hitting OpenAI and getting the data points. Yeah.
I think we can wrap up today's session. And folks, thank you so much for all your questions. And of course, if you have any further question, Okay, I think there is one question for you, Dhruv. If you
Yeah,
can share, yeah,
yeah. I'll just request Arun Abhi if you could just send the link over for the GitHub. Yeah, we'll just send it over in a couple of seconds. Yeah.
sure. Take your time, Dhruv.
Sure, I'm just checking how can I send this link over.
Dhruv, you can share it in our chat, and then I can post for
Okay,
the
got it.
larger
Thank you
audience.
so
Yeah,
much.
yeah,
I am sending it on chat.
yeah. I got it. I'm just sharing it.
I do see there's one more question is Copilot is using Chat GPT. There are different variants in different places. Like if you see the chat, Copilot chat specifically, it has certain combinations of that, but there's a lot of filters in the front, in the input and the output. So just not because if you do a direct codex request or a particular API endpoint, your responses do not match so much on your expectations. The prompt building is a big thing which the ID extension does and sends it over to the and these filters and guards are required. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Dhruv. Thank you so much for hosting an amazing session. And thank you all for joining us today. And of course, if you have any further question, please feel free to reach out to Dhruv. His handles are already updated on Meetup. So if you have any further questions related to today's session, please feel free to reach out to him. And yes, also please visit our Microsoft Reactor website for more upcoming session. Please feel free to use the Learn module link, which I've already shared in the chat section. And also you can see right now on the screen. This will give you access to additional resources to take your learning further. Thank you all once again and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.
Thank you everyone for joining. Thank you. Bye. Have a good day.